today, what we're going to talk about, it's not something really, really mind-blowing new, okay? So we're going to talk about what it takes to make a successful branded content distributed dominantly on the digital platform. And that's why I had this term, I call it digitainment, because it's all about the new form of consuming entertainment on a new era. So let me just start by this campaign. Okay, everybody knows about this campaign by Red Bull, right? It's called the Red Bull Stratos. By show of hands, who have watched this campaign live online? Okay, quite a few people, but not that many. Actually, I just found out this morning that Discovery also had a live coverage of this spectacles, but at the same time, I think a lot of buzz actually generated from online. So I'm going to get back to this campaign at the very end to illustrate what is the success behind this, this very success. I would name this very successful branded content online. So just to give you some high-level numbers about this campaign, it achieved about 9 million concurrent views on YouTube at the day of the jump. And with about 1 million unique consumer actions, so I'm talking about all these comments, likes, followed. On the day of the jump, that suggests an audience of at least 90 million following the campaign. Okay, so yeah, it's a very successful campaign. So I'm going to get back to this, but the following slides that I'm going to talk about is to show you what are the ingredients that it takes for a branded content to be successful online. So we all started from what we call a revolution. Okay, people are actually changing. It's not something new. Everybody knows about this already. And I was just talking to some of the TV stations before I came in, and they're actually very afraid of losing a lot of young target audience. The reason why is because people are actually changing the way that they consume, discover, and also share media. So people, for example, in China, in Hong Kong, they actually spend more time on the internet than on TV. So people watch videos online and like mobile devices more, and the gap is actually just keeps on widening. What does that mean? That means that people, especially the new generations, actually never know of a world that where entertainment is not instantly available, okay, anywhere, anytime, and on any devices. So to them, digital media is actually not something new. It's actually entirely natural, okay. So because of that, there is a shift. So that shift is actually from a traditional one-way broadcast to now what we call the two-way on-demand channel. So people can actually go online to choose whatever pieces of content that they are interested in at that specific time, and they would just consume it right there, right then. And also that content then, because of that shift, no longer dominantly made by what we call professionals. Like general users like me and you are becoming the producers, publishers, as well as distributors of our own. And why is that possible? Because audiences nowadays are actually connected like a network. Okay, so unlike the traditional transmission and audiences, they all sit in front of a TV screen, waiting to be fed by entertainment. Distribution in today's network is going to be in the hands of consumers themselves, like me and you. So you need to ensure that they're motivated enough to do that for you. I talked about anywhere, anything, anytime, because people they want to because of the technology that enables users to actually discover, to share, and also to consume media anywhere, anytime. And also because of the technology, it made countries like China, South Korea, and Hong Kong, one of the highest mobile penetrations. And also in China, we have over 800 million mobile users in the country, which is the largest mobile population in the world. And because of that, people are actually consuming media on the go. So if you can see, if you go to Korea or if you go to Hong Kong, you take the train, you take the subway, you see people no longer, putting, holding a piece of newspaper, but everybody's actually on their mobile phones, reading news, looking at consuming media, and so forth. So forget about prime time. So because of the digital platform and the way that people consume media, there's no longer a concept of prime time. So it's becoming more of a perpetual experience. And then it comes social. Okay, because of social, it makes the content, not only that people can share about it, but making content more socializable. So social networks have evolved, from simply staying in touch, staying in touch with friends, to now a more complex infrastructure for sharing status updates, common interests, or even media content. Around 50 to 60% of the audience that, this is a global research, that they would be more likely or highly likely to consume a piece of content that is shared by their trusted friends. So if you're being recommended by a piece of content, or you see people are sharing a piece of content on, for example, Facebook or on Weibo, you're very highly likely that you're going to watch it because you trust that source of content. So what does that mean? It means that traditional programming is near to an end. I hate to say that, but in the future, the most valuable, source of recommendations about movies, TV shows, music, books, and games will not come from program directors, channel managers, or magazine editors, but from people in our own social networks. So we become an influencer, or we become a distributor of content. And everyone knows this, right? I'm not going to do the Oppa Gangnam style, but this has become a huge hit. Okay, why is that? Because it's viral. It's now becoming the most viewed video on YouTube with over 800 million views, closing on to 900 million now. Not to mention all the other, the impassionations and covers, and also all these live shows that he popped up at the Madonna, concert, and also at the Asia Music Awards and so forth. But why such hit? Because a piece of good content is actually like contagion. It's very contagious. It spreads through audience networks by harnessing the social links between people. We talk about how people are actually interconnected, how people would actually trust each other in consuming the pieces of content that they share or they recommend. And if there's a piece of very, very good content, it's like contagion. This super distribution, from social clusters is very different from traditional marketing. People share the content not because they're persuaded, because they are motivated. Therefore, content needs to, deliver currency, this value exchange between people, because they are risking their own personal reputation to be what we call the advocates, of the content they're sharing. So if you have a good advocate for your content, you will have a very, very good distribution online. And also, since that we're now connected, more than ever, anytime, anywhere, with all these high-tech devices like smartphones, iPads, wherever, or even Samsung just released a new smartphone plus camera. So it's a camera that connects to the cellular network, so you can actually share photos wherever you go, and also talk on the phone when you're taking pictures. And because of that, with access to wireless internet, we are actually intertwined together, like never before. And reality becomes real. Celebrities become you and me. And program broadcast becomes 24/7. Audience continuously provide feedback. The more that we watch, the more others will see, and the more that we create, the more connect that we are with others. Therefore, what makes content authentic is not how it looks, but rather how connected it is to the social sphere. But then a lot of people will actually come to me and ask, oh, so is TV dead? Not really, no. A recent research from Google and Ipsos has suggested that this is a global research, that globally, we're still actually spending the most time on TV. We are. But however, there's a new concept called multi-screen, which means that we're not just watching TV while the TV is on. We're actually interacting with multiple screens at the same time. So we have a laptop on a lap, that's why it's called laptop, and then we have mobile devices, and we are actually interacting with each other while we're watching, the content on TV. So people are actually chatting, going online, chatting with friends, researching infos on mobile, devices, and that is actually very, very common behavior. When they see something interesting on TV, immediately they will go online, either via their mobile devices or on laptop, and to search that particular information. And these are all happening at the same time. So therefore, a content distributor then needs what we call a multi-screen strategy. Okay? Not only unidirectional, so not only thinking of how we're going to distribute the content via the traditional TV channels, but also embracing that, utilizing different screens to create what we call a multi-directional, multi-screen strategies. And then, when it comes to a sea of content online, I talked a lot about YouTube, a lot about online distribution. But there is one thing that it's very, very important. It's discovery. How are we going to make our content discoverable? And in a sea of content, tags, what we call tags, allow the pieces of content to be found, classified, or aggregated for mass consumption. And creating tags nowadays, doesn't require, an army of librarians. Users do all the work for you. So users, when they see something interesting, they will actually comment about it. They would tag. They would use hashtags, or whatever they're watching a video, they would, they would repost. They would reshare, and this actually ensures that shared content is easily found and categorized, and it makes socializing content easier and more available than to anyone. So one thing that everybody knows about iTunes, right? The good thing about iTunes is it looks at your music library, and there's a function called Genius, and it's really genius because it reads through the genre of your music, and it will suggest the right genre for you, so that you will make discovery of new content easier and more relevant. And that is a key word. Relevancy is the key, because by the sophistication of the technology, the better they understand about you, about the content that you're consuming, the better that they can actually recommend the right relevant content for you. And then this is what we call recreation. So this happened, oh, by the way, this is actually not Obama himself. This is photoshopped. And they call this Oppa Gangnam Style, as opposed to Oppa Gangnam Style, it's Oppa Gangnam Style. So this actually got shared right after Obama got re-elected as President of the United States of America. The good thing about what we call recreation is content today must allow, or anticipate remix, reissue, or redistribution of your original content. So the genius of maximizing the original content is by inviting that recreation, or turning that earned content as your owned content for promotion. So that's why you see a lot of earned or user-generated or impersonation of content for example, the Gangnam Style. I once was seeing the Navy, the U.S. Navy was actually doing that, but it got removed from YouTube now. which, some content owners are actually very anxious over, their intellectual properties. They were like, no, I can't allow anybody to, to adopt, to recreate, to mess around with my original content. But some are actually embracing it. Some allow it. Some invite it. And that's actually making the difference of having this, promotion online. So I remember Steve Jobs once said, creativity is the act of connecting things, not essentially creating something new. Think about his iPod. He didn't invent the MP3 player. He actually made it better. So by allowing, the readaptation of your original content would actually help your original content better. And then when it comes to online, there's a very important aspect or element, that goes around with your content, which is packaging. And a lot of people, they do overlook about this packaging. There's the most valuable, part of a package that goes along with your content, other than the content itself. It's the stuff that surrounds it. All these ratings, reviews, recommendations. They're not just a byproduct, but they are actually part of the package that associate, with the content itself. So it's very important that we allow all these, okay? So we have worked with clients, like for example, we worked with some luxury clients. You know how luxury clients, they don't like comments because they are very anxious about getting, negative comments. And then we work with some clients like P&G or Samsung, which they allow, they accept, And we can see the difference. That the content that allows or go along with a lot of, comments, ratings, or even sharings, it would have a much better distribution online than the ones that they don't allow it. Because, the more that we make the content visible, and in doing so, that would actually increase its underlying market demand, because you are actually generating more market demand by allowing these packaging around your original content. So think about putting into a right platform that allows you to have these kind of functions that can maximize your distribution online. And then that's platform. Choosing platform nowadays in digital is actually much more flexible, because content owners nowadays have more choices in distributing the content. I talked about YouTube. In China, we talked about Youku or Tudou. But then there are also different channels at which I think Viki.com is speaking right after my session. And there's Hulu, and then there's also, in China, there's Qi. So there are a lot of different platforms that allows users, or allow content owners to distribute their original content on these kind of platforms. And the way these kind of platforms are structured, as similar to what I mentioned about the genius function of iTunes, it will be able to recommend, the pieces of content that you would be interested, to make that content discovery easier and more relevant to you. So, they don't need to, nowadays the content owners, they don't need to really rely on the walled garden for survival. As audience becoming, more complex, distributors can create value by understanding the individual preferences of customers and creating personalized content or entertainment for them, and then distributing this via various online platforms. So these platforms not only allow the discovery to be easier, more relevant, but also making that viewing experience more engaging, more interactive, because it allows people to participate, to rate, to comment. I talked about the packages around it. So you're actually creating a package around your content via these kind of platforms. And then having these share functions, okay? So nowadays you will be very, very surprised to find a piece of content that does not have a Facebook or Twitter or Weibo or a function that goes along with that piece of content. So we're talking about the whole new user experience by consuming content online. And we are, at Starcom MediaVest Group, we are an experienced company where we actually create meaningful experiences. And that's why when we create content, or when we co-create content with the advertisers, when we distribute, we take the experience on the media on the content consumption very, very seriously. But of course, at the end of the day, content is still the king. Okay. So the future of marketing or advertising doesn't, really rely on big, complex online campaigns. The web is actually a very, very powerful medium, for telling stories. The challenge for marketers will be to really manipulate these digital platforms to create and sustain their brand, methodologies. And as consumers become smarter at eluding marketing, as we all are, it will not be, sufficient merely to invent better-looking advertisement around content. So advertising needs to be the content itself, and the content that has this brand value tagged along with it. It has a very, very visual identity and a feeling. So companies need to be really mindful of the content that they create and ensure that it lives up to their brand values. So if you can see a lot of, when Sylvia in her session yesterday talked about a lot of product placement, but now advertisers are actually evolving from just putting product placement, but blending in the brand values and the brand stories with the content itself, or even creating a content that is actually surrounding or embraced by the brand value. And that's all about content. It's all about storytelling. And because of that is more engaging with the users, and then they will allow them, to motivate them to share your content and to recommend your content on various social platforms or online platforms. So I brought with me a couple cases, view cases, one from China, one from Hong Kong, and then there's one from Cannes Lions, which is a global, who won the bronze at the Cannes Lions, which I really like that campaign. And these cases, after I show this to you, you will see something that I have just mentioned. It has all these ingredients. Okay, so can you please play the first video, please? So this is what we call, this is Miss Puff. Meet Miss Puff. So the Liquor Threat team in China, together with MediaVest China, we created this for our client Etam. So Etam is actually a French fashion label. And it's, usually the brand value is all about, audacity, daring. So as you can see in this trailer, okay, I'm not showing you the whole episodes. You can actually go to Youku to watch it yourself. You can see that it really communicates this brand value from this. Imagine, okay, when I first watched this trailer, I'll be imagining, wow, what if we are using the real people and putting on to like China national TV or satellite TV? I don't think that they will ever go through the censorship. So we have chosen to, first of all, make it as an animated, content, and then create this character called Miss Puff, and put it online in collaboration with Yoku. And Yoku was actually helping us to create this, writing the scripts, inviting the directors to produce this, what we call the online episodes. And for the first 5 episodes in season 1, we have implanted our product into the stories, into the episodes itself. And with the first 5 implant of the episodes, we have already achieved more than 11 million views online in China. And it has become a very, very successful, what we call a web series. And we are already in the 3rd season. And in the 3rd season, we have already achieved close to 25 million views on Yoku. And I've talked about all this package about the content itself. We have received more than 87% positive sentiments. So out of all the comments that we have received for this web series, a lot of them are actually positive. And because of that, it has its own legs for distributing, maximizing this content online, purely online. But of course, we had some advertising, to help springboard this promotion of this web series. And using technologies like targeting approach, using audience networks, we will be able to pinpoint or to deliver these pieces of content directly to the audience that we want to reach. And also, the influence of Miss Puff is huge in China. So in China, Miss Puff actually won the 3rd Kingpong Jingpang Zhang in China for the best editor prize, for the best director, as well as the best online series. So it's very, very successful. And what originally created online, it also has the offline coverage. So the director and the producer also featured having interviews on Hunan TV. And then some fashion magazines have the special column on just for Miss Puff. And also internationally, New York Times had a special report on this web series. So it's a hugely successful content, branded content, started off from online and how it has its influence offline. Now the second case, this is a Samsung case. Can you please play the video and I'll do voiceover about this campaign.
瞓過龍。咁嘅環境點用部 Samsung Galaxy Tab 幫手？即上網搜尋 Help Cool， 故仔會打電話俾你，一齊諗諗點收科。
So this was actually a
更薄、
TVC.
更輕、更快 ，Samsung Galaxy Tab。
Yeah, so this was actually a TVC. And then it has a call for action for people to go search Help Cool. And when you search Help Cool, you landed onto a website, and you key in your phone number, and Leo Koo, Gu Tinlo, will call you. He did call you, but of course it's a recorded voice. And then it will unlock 4 endings. This is just one of them.
唔使驚，你放鬆下，你睇條片先啦。哇！我都好驚啊！
仲支援 Flash， 更薄、更輕、更快 ，Samsung Galaxy Tab。
Or you can choose a second ending. So there are actually total 4 endings.
瞓過龍。你坐低。
韓國人。
香港人啊。 Lo 이쁘다? 감사합니다. 먹어보자.
同步睇片上網下載，更薄、更輕、更快。Samsung Galaxy Tab。
And then that's the third ending.
瞓過籠。
喂，揾巴士啊！將軍路，咪快啲揾人嚟啊！其實都唔使咁快，你哋食完宵夜慢慢嚟都唔遲。
仲講到電話，更薄、更輕、更快。Samsung Galaxy Tab。
Now the last one.
瞓過籠。你坐低。下載咗，玩啦！
靚畫面，更流暢，更薄，更輕，更快。Samsung Galaxy Tab。
So what's brilliant about this case is, imagine if you want to showcase all different, features of a product, with the 4 different endings. Imagine how long that TVC is going to be. Okay, although like Hong Kong recently, we are running like 3 minutes, 4 minutes TVC, which is, doesn't make sense. So we brought this online. But what's more importantly is, because we did had a 30 seconds, I think, or 15 seconds TVC that we started off with, but we had this interaction. Okay, so that we're actually bridging the offline media to the online world. So when people are intrigued by watching this TV online, as I have mentioned before when we're talking about multitasking or multi-screen strategy, so people, when they see something interesting, they would actually go online right away while they're watching TV. So when they go online and search Help Coup, they would immediately direct to this campaign site. It was unlock these, and then they would, of course, Leo Coup calling you is just a gesture, but it's really, really interesting because Leo Coup will just say, okay, which one do you want to see? And then you can, on your phone, to choose 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will, on the screen, in real time, it will play that particular ending that you want to see. Obviously, of course, people would then watch all 4 endings, as all our human psychology is. They would just not settle with just one ending, but all 4 of them. But when the people are watching all 4 endings, it has a very interesting way to highlight the product feature of that particular new product. Okay? So now the last case, which this is something that I really like. So please play the video.
Why are there no blue Skittles? With 2.5 million fans, that question kept coming up on the Skittles UK Facebook page. They had a point. We had no blue. So we listened to the fans and persuaded Skittles they just had to make it. Then we whet the fans' appetites with footage from the Czech factory. Anticipation grew, but we wanted to turn it up a notch. So we announced the blue Skittles truck was leaving the factory. But then, the trucker had stopped. We sent a film crew over to the Czech Republic to see why.
Běž pryč, nemám tě rád, nebudu ho řídit, je modrej.
Turns out, he was blue.
Já nezajímám v Anglii nikoho.
He said we had to like him.
Tak kousek popojedeme a uvidíme. Modrá!
Or else.
A to jinak udělám.
It was emotional blackmail. Our film crew kept him in contact with the Facebook group.
Mají mě rádi, nemají.
A live interactive map let fans follow the trucker's movements. There were ups
1200 lidí za hodinu.
and downs.
580 lidí na internetu. Já jsem uražený.
Personal messages were exchanged.
mám šíleně mutantský palec!
But the Facebook group kept this guy going and got their friends to join the effort.
Už jedu! Vezu vám Blue Skittles pro všechny!
Our fans shared a week in the life of this strange trucker. Some even met him en route. Together, they brought millions of Blue Skittles into the UK.
Tady jsou!
Then, of course, they rushed down to the shops to buy them. In just 7 days, the trucker received over 80,000 likes, and our page was liked by 500,000 new fans. The Blue Skittles sold out within 3 weeks. After the campaign period, Skittles sales were up a huge 29%. All this by listening to our fans and getting a Blue Skittle made, then making the fans a part of its story.
Mám tě rád!
And this Czech trucker's life.
Like the rainbow, taste the rainbow.
It is very entertaining every time I watch this video. So, as you can see in this case, which is very, very self-explanatory. I mean, they all start with listening to the to the consumers on the Facebook fans page. People asking why are there no Blue Skittles, and then, instead of normally if you're in a normal traditional way of marketing, well, okay, let's make some Blue Skittles, put it on shelf, do a massive campaign around it, and that's it. But this time, they changed the way that they do this. They want to involve the users. They want to put their consumers in the driver's seat. Okay? So that's why they created this whole content as the campaign moves along. So it's not a content that is originally or pre-made, but it's content that is creating along the way as the campaign moves along. So in reacting all these comments or likes or not a high number of likes, they change the content and making the fans feeling like they are part of this process. They are part of making sure that Blue Skittles will appear in UK. So it's a very brilliant idea. What original content then will make it very, very highly interactive, highly engaging with the consumers, and the results, as you can see, is very, very staggering. So it's very, very good, what we call the pieces of branded content. And also, they only solely using Facebook as the media platform. Okay, so in markets like of course in the UK, utilizing Facebook, of course, obviously is the number one choice. But then, of course, if you want to do something like this in China, then of course, then you will have to use platforms like Weibo or Youku to deliver this. All right, so going back to the very first campaign that I have introduced, which is the Red Bull Stratos campaign. Just to throw some numbers out to you guys. So according to ABC News, besides YouTube, the jump was shown to more than about 40 TV stations. The 40 TV stations actually covered about this, not all of them live, and also 130 digital outlets. Okay, so Red Bull's Facebook post jump photos of Baumgartner gained almost about more than 200,000 likes, 10,000 comments, and over 29,000 shares within 40 minutes, after the jump. And half the worldwide trending topics on Twitter were actually relating to the Red Bull Stratos with about 2,000 tweets per second during the jump. So Red Bull, by doing this, is actually transforming the sports entertainment and its distribution. So when you're in a Super Bowl, you're actually one of about 70 ads or so on TV. But this is something completely owned by Red Bull, okay? And it's completely went viral in a digital space and grabbed attention by the traditional media as earned media. So the future of brand marketing in digital and mobile channels, is driven by advocacy. So advocacy is now the best way, to create purchase intent for brand marketers. The challenge has been, to generate advocacy in a scalable way, since you can actually just throw money to buy trust. But even if you can actually there's only a limited trust that you can buy. You can actually buy a lot of impressions, but you can't actually have this advocacy for you. So to that, no company has actually ever triggered brand advocacy at this scale, and short of a similar flawlessly executed spectacle on this scale. So Red Bull Stratos was actually a very, very priceless brand experience that will almost certainly impact Red Bull's business performance in a significant way. So this is what gives Red Bull wings, So what I think it's right now, or even to the future of distribution of branded content, is going to be digitally driven with the understanding of your target audience, providing the right pieces of entertainment at the right time, with the right platform, where they can easily engage, comment, share, and also becoming your advocates, to becoming your influencer for the redistribution or distributing at a scalable manner. So, thank you. So now open up the floors with any questions, or do we have any SMS questions? Yes, please.
I've got two questions.
Yeah.
The first is, Gangnam Style is kind of like this year's Old Spice guy, right? Everybody's claiming credit for it. Everybody's, oh, well, of course, we know why that went viral. If that's the case, why don't more brands have 800 million views on their videos? And, could you, knowing what you know now, could you make one of those tomorrow? If not, kind of why not? What would stop you?
Yeah. Well, that is a very, very good question. It's a very good challenge as well to us as a media agency, because, the clients would actually then come to us and say, oh, can we make something as big as Gangnam Style? They didn't spend any media budget, right? Did they? Oh, no. But, but what I think is, can we do something at that scale? The short answer to that is yes. But we need to have the right ingredients, which I have mentioned. But also, then, of course, we need to have a very, very real-time sensitive response. We talked about the Skittles case. The success of that is because of that real-time sensitive response to the audience, to the consumer, in changing the way that we create the content along the way. But for Gangnam Style, it's a little bit different because it has this music already created. It just put it online, and all of a sudden people were just in love with that. And also there are a lot of a study around the music itself, dissecting whether, this is actually this beat, this tempo is actually the best tempo that everybody will get, relate to, just like the Ghostbusters, all that. But of course, having said that, the ingredients of how this became viral and how they really embraced that recreation and the distribution of the content via, the right platform to the right audience, it's crucial, it's essential. And I believe that if we have the right ingredient in, structuring our digital distribution or digital marketing strategy, we would be having the same level of success. But am I saying that, can we guarantee, for example, in terms of numbers, 800 million views? That is a little bit of stretch because because it had actually a lot of what we call the earned media to help them to drive that. Because he was actually on Ellen's show dancing with Britney Spears, and then you had this American Music Award dancing with MC Hammer. And then all that actually contributing to that, skyrocketed exponential growth of that video views. A lot of people are actually just seeing the video for the first time, after it got so famous. So I think what we need to do, which is something that we very, in our limited, capacity to control, is how we can actually maximize the earned media that we can earn, on digital platforms. So to your question, yes, we can if we have the right ingredients, and also how we can maximize the earned media that we can leverage.
Okay, my second question for you was about Red Bull Stratos.
Yeah.
What do you think they were trying to achieve with that? I mean, I could say to my client tomorrow, right, what we're going to do is we're going to launch a rocket into space for you. Don't worry about the budget, it's not an issue. But were they doing it, do you think, to sell more Red Bull? Or were they doing it because Red Bull is now a media company and they were trying to create a media sensation? What do you think? I mean, for the cost of producing Gangnam Style and getting the coverage he got, and then the cost of sending a rocket into space, I mean, you said 9 million views on YouTube versus 800 million for Gangnam Style. What really was the benefit of Red Bull Stratos?
Okay. I'm glad that you said about Red Bull is a media company. Now, that is actually the key word. A lot of marketers nowadays are actually becoming the media company because they are the content owners. They have a lot of stories to tell. They can create a lot of content. So immediately they are the media itself, especially in this digital era. So what made Red Bull did that? Of course I don't know because they're not actually our client. But what I read is it took them 5 years in the planning, and also in executing that. But they're all doing this just because of one thing, because they believe in their brand value. The brand value is all about doing this extreme things. Okay, they're in the extreme sports category, so they want to challenge themselves. They want to keep challenging themselves. Why are we doing this? So they created this in collaboration with the I think it has something to do with NASA and also some collaborators and scientists, physicists and astronomers. But by doing that, they have actually created something that they entirely own. So instead of going into like X Games or going to Super Bowl, like they don't own them, but they just want to be part of that because they want to tap into their audiences. Now they're creating something that they can entirely own, and it's proven to be a huge success by creating this. So I think this is it's all about their mentality. So the changing of the mentality of not just an advertiser, but turning themselves into a media, and then creating something entirely new, and venturing into the digital space, leveraging all the ingredients that I've talked about, leveraging all these, building the advocacy in doing that. But of course, at the end of the day, yes, the question is they want to sell more Red Bulls, and the business results had supported that. The Red Bull sales is going up. I don't have the number, but it is going up. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes?
My question actually revolves around, with all this disintermediation happening, how do you guys actually still hold value, right? How are the media agencies really going to, sustain themselves? If Red Bulls is going to go at it and drive a process and make all this stuff happen, what's going to happen to the traditional broadcasters? And I think there's a lot of them in the room, or people that work for them. And how are the media agencies themselves going to evolve? Because the traditional spot buys and all that stuff seems to be becoming less and less of a norm, right? So yeah. So with all this disintermediation, where do you see the role of the broadcasters? Where do you see the role of yourselves as we move forward?
Okay. That's a very, very interesting question. I'm going to talk a little bit about ourselves, like our role, and how we add value to this. I think as advertisers become more and more content owners, content generators, or media owners, or even to your point, broadcasters, we actually play a much bigger role. And we would be that, that facilitator or that consultant between the advertisers and the media owners to come together, to collaborate, to make something which is more meaningful, which is more original, that is meant to be distributed on multi-screens. Not just on TV, not just digital, but multi-screens. So I think that's the role of the value chain of that content distribution. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
One of the main characteristics of swarm behavior is the length of the message. My question to you is, do you think, since brands transmit small messages, even Red Bull Stratos, it was a jump, right? So that's why during the jump there were much more viewers than during the entire program. Do you think that content developers need to shorten the length of their content, or the shift is into creating segmented content all throughout the platforms?
Yeah, I don't have the what we call like the academic answer to that, but that I can see that trend. Yes, I can agree with you that in the digital platforms, the content are in a shorter form or in a segmented formats. One of the reasons why is because people online is less patient than they're consuming, in front of a TV or in a movie theater, because there's so many choices out there. So if you don't engage with that audience in the first 5 seconds of your video, you lose them, and it's very easy for them to switch, right? They can just press the pause button and then just go on to the other content. Whereas in traditional channels like cinema or TV, you can't do that. You're pretty much stuck with the program that you're watching. So because of that behavior shift, then of course the content needs to be shortened because they're less patient, but of course the content needs to be really engaging at the very beginning. Okay, so because you need to get their attention right there, right then, in order to consume that. And also segmenting the content itself helps because people can have a leg, because people, after they're watching the first segment, then they will comment about it, they rate about it, people are talking about it, then it would encourage more people along the journey to come and consume the same content along the way. And that is actually the same thing going back to the Gangnam Style. Why it has become so successful is just because during that, that time, the lifespan of that, until now of that video, there is a lot of collaboration, a lot of comments, a lot of contribution to the content itself, and that makes it much, wider in terms of reach and attentions. All right. So, does that answer your question? All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. Thank you.